What is happening, everybody, man? I'm excited for today's call. And, being able to make the kind of the brand shift over from kind of the Honey Badger Q&A type conversation, now really more focused on kind of the one big fire and the one big fire story, which we'll share in just a minute. But, one thing I do want to hit before we jump into today's absolutely fire episode is just kind of chat about one of the things that we have coming up in, what are we, about 6 weeks out now, 7 weeks out now. So, hitting that stretch as we hit agent to CEO Cleveland. And I'm really, really excited. The agent to CEO process was something that we put together back in 2019, something we were going to run with. Obviously, the challenges with pandemic, we did a live take on it then. And then, really just being able to obviously come to Cleveland 2 years ago, and then now back to Cleveland again with the agent to CEO process. And I'm really excited because of us just up there from a teaching standpoint. It's a really a tremendous value add with not only the three of us. We've got some incredible leaders in the industry that are going to be able to be there and help us, all really dive in, and really the whole understanding of what agent to CEO really is. And it's, first and foremost, a mindset shift from, as most agents move out of the employed life into the self-employed life and never make that next jump, right? That next jump from self-employed to true business owner, and thinking like a business owner, and what we have to have in place, and understanding, the what, the who, and the how, and everything that comes with, running small business and really being able to think like a business owner. So super excited for that. You guys, we can head, you guys can go over to agent2ceocle.com. All the information and everything is there to be able to get your tickets and join us in Cleveland in, about 6-7 weeks, but also a heck of an event that we have piggybacked on top of that, Al, with your Rock and Rescue event.
Yeah. I mean, as you were kind of setting up the whole agent to CEO, they're really, the timing of this course couldn't be better at the moment. In fact, well, I guess it could be coming before the August 17th changeover. But what just today alone, I've gotten 2 calls from team leaders. These are super smart, great leaders who still feel uncertain about how to lead their group, their team moving forward. And there's no better place. You're the 2 top people in the nation, the 2 top people that Inman want interviews with, that want on their stage, who are going to be on their stage teaching what this next chapter is going to look like for us in real estate. Kendall Bonner and Leo Pareja. They're going to be they're going to be there in person, answering questions, sharing how they've led organizations, multiple organizations, into the 7 figures, and in Leo's case, 8 figures. And you're going to be shoulder to shoulder with them in a very intimate, awesome, great, almost a mastermind type of environment. I wouldn't call it a mastermind, but absolutely get there. And of course, we got the Gary LeVox concert to follow, which is going to be fire. Can't wait.
Going to be amazing. So speaking of Leo and Kendall, Al really wanted to let's jump right into this, right? The first thing that we really want to touch on, and I know it was something that you were sharing with all of us, with all your leaders, with as many agents as possible. You posted it all over social, but really, BAMCO and EXP, CEO conversation. If you can kind of, what compelled you to send it, and then, kind of diving into it, kind of takeaways from that conversation.
Yeah. I mean, it started out, the drama kind of started drumming up, and it's actually, when you look at it, kind of in hindsight, it's a good thing that everything came out the way it did. Ricky Carruth put up a post, which he had taken down because Leo asked him to take it down. And Ricky didn't think it was a big deal. Ricky's a great content creator. He was sharing a conversation he had with Leo that we're going to be putting it out there in the public that EXP is no longer doing broker-to-broker compensation. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not allowing buyers agents to collect, from the seller directly as a concession. But that's what people drew in their mind, because everyone's reality is their reality. It's just that, and I think the biggest thing this week or this past week that's happened is people are having some serious mindset changes. That's what's going to take place right now. It has to be a mindset change in how we look forward to it. And I mean, I'll just be transparent. I wasn't even seeing it the correct way until I really started opening up my mind and saying, okay, I need to think about this whole thing differently. Because we were talking before that we started the podcast, John, is that we've been in this business over 20 years. I'm 26 years. Jay, you might be 26, 27 years. John, 28 years. And man, you might, maybe you're older than me.
I might be.
But the truth of it is this had to happen. This had to happen. And it happened the way it happened, where another podcast that's BAM got on there and started, if we're being honest, they started throwing shade. They do it all very carefully, kind of like Fox News and CNN, where they try to walk that line and whatever. And I get it. They're trying to create content. They're not trying to. But here's what I've learned throughout life. If
Clickbait.
You try to make everyone happy, you're going to make nobody happy. You need to take a stand. And when I listen to Leo kind of get on there, it's funny how Byron's tune changed when Leo literally was on the phone with him, and in 90 minutes he was live. When he heard about how that previous episode went, when they were basically saying, oh, well, EXP is doing all this and they don't have to do this. The settlement says that you can do broker to broker and all this other stuff. When you dig in deeper, you're going to see that, the people that are saying that, they didn't write a check for 20 million, 50 million, $100 million. Okay. Write a check that size and then come back and tell me how you're going to practice. Because that's where the rubber meets the road. And I believe we are leading the way. And when you look at who won that debate, and it wasn't a debate, actually, I'm just making that up. It wasn't a debate. It was a conversation, but who won? Kendall Bonner won. And the reason is that there's nobody that I've seen articulate how we can all move forward together as a cooperative group of collaborative real estate agents, professionals in this business, than how Kendall broke it down. And it's on, I guess we could put the link into the comments for people. I'm happy to do it. I just don't know if I post here, John, how many different venues it's going to go out to, but I'm happy to post the link.
Yeah, throw it in there. I think it'd be really good for you to share. I know you posted all over your social. Cuz, what was your take on that conversation?
I mean, I think the biggest takeaway was and Al's right. Kendall crushed it, and given a lot more context around the way we're going to be doing business. I think, surface level, I think both Ricky's post, was to get attention, and I don't know this BAM. Obviously they have a huge following. I just haven't ever tuned in, I guess, but they probably took an early stance to benefit from that clickbait, and ultimately, this is the way every company should be reacting. And I think the response just tells me that real estate agents are not clear and do not know what's coming for the most part. There's just a lot of people that aren't educating themselves as to what's coming. And so, it was, to me, I was like, how did this become something? Like, how do we just now, right before this is about to go down, how do we not know that this is how companies need to start thinking? And I guess it might have a little bit to do with, some of these MLSs are, and this is the part I don't necessarily understand. Albie, and you talked about this in Cleveland last week, is some of these MLSs are, oh, wait, we're going to have a checkbox. We'll allow concessions, won't allow concessions, a yes or no checkbox. So you check that box if they're willing to, which any offer can have, any concessions in it. Anybody can make any offer they want. So that doesn't change anything, but it's a way to put it in there. And some MLSs may do that, but the position that we're taking is that we're not sharing commissions. That will be negotiated in the contract between the seller and the buyer's agent. So it's not, to me, it's not news. This is what we've known that was coming. But certainly I think it was interpreted in a different way just because of the way the post was made. So yeah, but I thought they did a great job of backpedaling. BAM did, and giving a lot of props to EXP for doing the right thing and crowdsourcing, sharing all of our forms that we've created to help anybody who wants to take advantage of that or to glean off, come up with their own version or whatever. But I thought that was, it put EXP in a good light. I thought Leo did a fantastic job as usual. Yeah, I think we're just way ahead of other companies in terms of teaching how business is going to be.
Yeah. I think I had a great conversation with John Hart right before this call, and John and Ryan run the #1 team in the state of Ohio for EXP out of Columbus, and their business is 65% buy side, and agent headcount on their team is in the 40s, growing, hitting 50 and not trying to slow down, and so they're not concerned at all about it. So think about that for a second. 65% of their business, because they've been just following the process for the last decade this way. They don't know any other way. And to John's point, was the biggest challenge, and we say this all the time, right, is that what is your value, and then being able to articulate your value. And you have to have those tough conversations on the front end and get clear on all the words, articulate it out. Now, are there a bunch of unknowns that they don't know as how we're going to play out? They're like, yeah, sure. We don't know. It's a contractual agreement. How does that tie into a contractual basis? What's the lender conversation got to be? What credits can they get? So he said there's a lot of unknowns, but he goes, we're not concerned about it because we have a process and we know we're going to have the conversation on the front end, and we know how important it is to articulate all of those things on the front end. And that's the thing that we've been talking about for over a decade, in having that process. Now, where they're focused, right, is the listing side, in articulating their value at a much deeper level. And it's just really cool at the pre-listing stuff, the listing deliverables, and the things that they've focused on. So it's just really interesting, to see that dynamic, because they're like, hey, we've been doing this for a decade. We just want to focus on making sure we're articulating the things that we need to articulate. We don't get any confusion in the words. We know what the words mean. We're all speaking the same language, but we're going all in on the listing side now, because we know that's the growth opportunity for our business, is to go get more listings, because we got the buyers. We know how to do the buy side. So it's just really cool to be able to see that. And it goes back to, to the point just a second ago, it's all mindset, right? It's just that mindset shift and just kind of how you choose to perceive and see the opportunity.
Well, I want to ask you guys a question, and it's obviously to make a point, but a lot of people out there might be looking for the magic bullet or the answer to there's fear and doubt in the air right now, and they're looking for what's the answer that can cure that. But I want to answer that with a question, because we've preached it for years. We've read it in many books, that are we asking the right question? I want to ask you guys a question, and this is something that I have to give credit to one of our state brokers when I was listening on the meeting last week, or excuse me, not the meeting last week. This week they did a Q&A on this, and he said, what would, if you really had to get excited, gun to head, you need to get excited about this, John. You need to get excited about this, Jay. What would it need to look like for you to actually get excited about this particular situation? What would it need to look like for you to get excited about it?
Well, it's funny you say that. It's a great question. I am excited about it, especially if I was selling. In fact, it makes me want to sell, because what always has given me confidence is skills. And you keep hearing this over and over. People are saying you're going to have to level up your skill set. We've been saying it forever. But when you have a skill set of how to articulate your value, you just have been given the opportunity of a lifetime, because other agents are not going to be able to do this. And the fact that There's varying different reports of how many agents will leave the business. I feel like that's probably likely to happen, as it should. It will be the agents that, I see the comments all the time. Oh, why would I work with a buyer if I'm not going to get paid anymore? You don't belong in this profession. You're not a professional. And so it excites me. I think it's a great thing. I think it gives, the agents that are true professionals an opportunity. And what would get me excited is knowing that I had the ability to articulate my value in a way that people are going to be happily pay my commission. Run red lights, as we used to say, run red lights to meet with me, to have me represent them. Yeah. And it's like when you're doing anything that you're really good at, and that what you're talking about, and that you can do it. When you have that confidence, you see this as opportunity. You don't see this as some type of problem or setback. It's an opportunity, and that's how I see it for the agents that have been trained and have the skills.
I shared with you guys kind of the axis of anxiety and boredom, and happiness is best defined as human flourishing. So when we flourish as human beings, that's when we're the happiest. And when we're flourishing, we tend to find ourselves in a flow state. We've all been there, right? Mm-hmm. We've all been to where it's just magical, right? It's just effortless. Like, we're not exhausted. We're not tired. It's just like, man, this is easy, right? And so we've all been in that flow state. And where that flow state happens is at the balance of challenge and skills. And so as these agents are finding them at a higher level of anxiety, right? Because there's two sides of the flow state. You either fall into a side of anxiety, which all that means is you're fearful about the future, and you're taking on a challenge that you don't have the skills to handle. So I am aware. Okay, I'm feeling anxious. This is something that I'm aware of it. Now I'm like, okay, well, what has to happen for me not to be anxious about this anymore? It's either I lower my challenge, or I develop the skill set to meet it, to put me back into a state of flow. And then the opposite side of that spectrum is I'm bored, right? I'm just freaking bored. Well, you're bored is because you have a skill set, but you're not facing a challenge to be able to get you into that state of flow. And so I think a lot of agents, because to your point, is that, they're running fearful about the future. They're in a state of anxiety, and they just need to come to the reality of, I either need to lower this challenge, go find something else to do, or I need to make a commitment to improve my skill set to where I'm no longer anxious. And it's really that clear, that simple. But mm-hmm. most people can't operate in that, inside of that, because of the environment they choose to be in, the people that they allow to control their thinking and their thoughts that drive the feeling of fear and anxiety. And then therefore they would rather, point out the window instead of looking in the mirror. And I think a lot of agents that will have a stronger relationship with the mirror right now moving forward will be the ones that will continue to thrive. And, there are no magic pills. I know, it's kind of one of the things that you had kind of said, Al. I mean, the magic pill is effort. I mean, it's just work. Just do the damn work. Like, you need to improve your skill set. Just improve your skill set. Like, make that commitment.
Yeah, I want to talk about the magic pill here, and that's actually one of our topics, is the difference between winners and losers. So stick around to the end of the pod here, so when we dig into that and open up that box, because it'll be fun. To answer, here's how I answered that question. What would it need to look like for me to be excited about moving forward? Jay, kind of paraphrasing what you said, I would have a proven, repeatable process that I could not only follow, but I could teach my team to follow, that we can get skilled at through repetition, that we know is going to be the right way to do things to be able to grow my business versus lose money in this new chapter of our careers. The second thing, it would be easy. John, you touched on that. What would it look like if it were easy? Mm-hmm. What if I could tell you that if you were to master this new skill, and it's both ways, it's not just people getting anxious about the buy side. They're also wondering, how do I talk to a seller? Okay. What if it was easier than it's been? And in order for you to wrap your mind around it, you have to change your thinking I had to change my thinking. The first time I heard someone say there's an MLS that is no longer, it's not going to allow you to put a certain dollar figure like X% or flat fee or whatever in as a concession. It's just a yes or no box. Either yes, they're open to concessions, or no, they're not. In my mind, I thought that's dumb. Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you? And the reason I thought it was dumb was because my mind for the last 26, almost 27 years, I've been doing it one way. It's the way that I was taught. In fact, it's not just the way I was taught. We had to offer it. Like, it was a rule. We couldn't be a member of the MLS without offering compensation in the MLS. We have to stop thinking that way. This is a completely new era. And then when I started really thinking about it, and this was something that Kendall, we put Kendall's presentation. I highly recommend every single person that has a real estate license. If you expect to operate at a high level, you need to watch that. We put it into the comments. And damn, I lost track of where I was going with. Oh, Kendall had said this, is that everything's negotiable. Okay. Everything you said it earlier, Jay, everything's negotiable. If every buyer's agent, we know this for fact, every buyer's agent, if they want to be paid, that brings you an offer and they're representing a buyer after August 17th, they're going to have to get paid. To get paid, they're going to have a buyer's agency or a buyer's agreement signed with that buyer with a pre-negotiated fee. So let's just say, for instance, that X is one fee and Y is another fee. Okay. We'll play we'll play into the safe zone here. Okay. And this buyer negotiated X fee. The buyer's agent negotiated an X fee, percent fee. And you told the seller Y fee. You should offer Y fee. And that Y fee is a higher amount than what the buyer's agent negotiated. We just kind of pinned our seller into a higher concession than they needed to offer. It took me a minute to get my mind around that. Everything's negotiable. Mm-hmm. An easier way to do it, going back to how I get excited, what if it was easier for a listing agent? Just negotiate your fee and make sure that with your skills, you are getting that seller prepared and understand that they're going to need to make a concession 9 out of 10 times on 9 out of 10 offers, maybe even 10 out of 10 offers. The buyers are going to be asking you for a concession. So just get ready. And that concession could be one apple, 2 apples, up to 6 apples. We don't know where it's going to come at. All we're asking is be prepared. There's probably going to be a negotiation on that. And that's what you're paying me to do, is to negotiate the best sale. But there's going to be a concession. And I think that's just the easiest way to let it open up to a negotiation. And now you're only negotiating your own fee as a listing agent. Buyer's agent, you're going to need to negotiate your fee. And you're going to need to get skilled at that. And it's not that hard. That's the good news. I can tell you guys all this. We've been doing this since CHBA. When you guys wrote that course, I brought all of my brokerage, all of my agents through that course. 2011, I want to say. Yep. 2011. Mm-hmm. By 2012, less than a year later, my staff was fully skilled on how to not only present their value, but also, work with a buyer at their fee, not what was just being offered in the MLS. So we've been practicing this for over a decade. It's not difficult, but you do need to make a mindset shift if you want to keep up.
For sure. I think one last thing, understand, business is just offers minus no's equals yeses. And when you look at your offer to buyers, to sellers, it has to solve a problem, right? Sellers have a problem, buyers have a problem. And in the reality, they also have a desire. Well, do you want to be a painkiller, or do you want to be in the vitamin business or the painkiller business? I can tell you which one pays more and which one pays more often. And so find out their pain points, and your offer needs to solve that, right? That's it. They want a result. They want that thing to go away. That's why I think that perfect opportunity right now is motivated sellers. They have a pain point. Our offer needs to be a result to remove that pain point. And I think the other thing, right, when you look at it, and let's go back to the thing that we know to be true: in the absence of value, people question price. And the reason that they're going to question your price is because they don't believe that you have the perceived value in the offer equation, the value to solve their pain. You have a proven record of being able to do it. You've got credibility. You've got testimonials. You've got reviews. You've got case studies. And you've proven it to collapse time with less effort and less sacrifice. Like really think through your offer and your value to the pain point inside of the opportunity that's happening in the market right now, right? Who has to sell? Who has to buy? What are their pain points? How do I solve that pain in a short amount of time with the least amount of effort? And then I can add in additional experiences, right? Because I think that's where a lot of agents, a lot of us, right? Like we focus on improving the experience when we need to make sure that we're getting the result that they want. And I think we're better off focusing on the pain point. And that's, to your point, Al, I mean, you nailed everything there, right? It would a duplicatable, proven process, right? That doesn't make me the hero. That I can navigate them through, the customer, the whole journey to where I can, get them from where they're at to where they want to go. And it's not about me, it's about them. And it's easy, right?
Yeah.
Like it's effortless. It's easy.
Syed, I can't see all the comments, but I see Syed. What's up, Syed?
What's up, man?
He nailed it with an irresistible offer just bridges the gap for them. And so when I read that, I thought to myself, there's going to all the smart marketers out there. We are going to see some really cool offers. Okay. It's going to get creative on the buy side and the selling side as well.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really fun to watch where all the best marketers and how their minds work in trying to meet those needs and putting together that irresistible offer. There's going to be, we Jay, how many in our presentations we used to see what the advertisements used to be on the side of like bus stops and stuff, call me. I have the best service, or all these BS ads and stuff that realtors. No, that's gone. Those days are gone.
You know what's the funniest thing that I saw out to your point right there? So it was an article you shared last week. It was an Inman article talking about this seasoned broker. And his value proposition was, you only have to pay me 2%. And I've been in the business for X number of years. And look at all my trophies. I was like, dude, you're going to get crushed. Like a decent marketer is going to expose you. And so it's like, what have we said for years and years and years? It's not the best real estate agent that wins. It's the best marketer. And we're about to see that.
That's it. Absolutely. Hey, let's get on to our next, we have, the difference between winners and losers, or the missing oil well in your business. I kind of wanted to stay, leave the winners and the difference between winners and losers for the end, because it's going to be a fun one. But the missing oil well, first of all, before we move on, if you're an EXP agent, you're listening to this, you need to get into your state broker meetings. Okay. Make the time, get in there, because it's the number one thing being talked about. If not, you're going to be at risk with your business, not just with losing money, but worse, getting tied up in litigation. There's only one thing worse than losing money. It's losing money and getting tied up in litigation. Trust me. It ruins your week quickly. So get into the meeting. And if you're not with EXP, get into your broker's meetings. And if your broker sucks and he or she's not sharing with, a clear, proven process on how to navigate through this next 12 months while we're making a shift, then we need to have a conversation. But I'll digress. Let's talk about the missing oil well. Jay, you were the one that kind of like shared that the whole idea of oil wells. Explain what we're talking about. We're not talking about pumping liquid gold from under the U.S.
Right.
Baby drill.
Drill baby drill. It was kind of really a modification to Jay Abraham's multiple pillars and building a Parthenon around your business. And we saw this. It was super relevant when John and I went to his event in 2005, 2006. We were coming out of that. We went into the downturn in the marketplace, and there was a lot of agents that had all they did was REO, right? That was their one pillar. It was their one oil well, right? And that dried up. That dried up in I think they stopped doing the foreclosures for a while, and all that was building up. And so like when that goes away and your business is built on one oil well, then you ain't got no more oil. So the Parthenon theory was, you look in Greece and you see these Parthenons have been there for thousands of years. They have multiple pillars, right? And that's what you want in your business. You want oil wells that pump oil, and you want to add oil wells and then have multiple oil wells. And if you do that, you're going to produce more oil. That's the analogy, I guess, if you will. But the Revenos is what you're referencing here is just another oil well for your business, right? So you should have multiple streams of income coming into your business. Have multiple oil wells.
Start firing off some, cuz share some examples of what those are.
Yeah. So I mean, for us, back in the day, we ultimately we had an REO arm, oil well for that. We had FSBOs, we had expireds, we had lead gen that certain lead gen that we were doing. We had referrals and repeat business from people that have done business with. That's an oil well that should be pumping. You should have. Abraham used to hit us right out of the gate with that question. He's like, how many of you ever got a referral? Now, this is all different industries that are in the room. Everybody raises their hand, right? And then he says, how many of you have at least one system in place that's consistently producing referrals and repeat business for you on a regular basis? How many of you have more than 2 systems, more than 3 systems, more than 5? And he's like, I'm going to go over 93 referral systems, right? Like you should, even though it's not as predictable, it should be an oil well. And so if you have people coming to you, what are the systems that are creating those for you? That's your oil well. These are multiple pillars. Short sales were a pillar. It was an area of business that we did differently during the downturn, but those were all different effort, energy, money. Sometimes the revenue was different per transaction. On short sales, we made money up front on those in the beginning. And REO is a little bit less. It was a lower profit, but it was repeatable. It was multiple deals. Builder business is another one. You have a builder client or development. That's a pillar, right? So multiple pillars means if something happens to one of your pillars or one of your oil wells, you still got other oil wells coming that are producing oil. And that's I think that's the safest way to build a business is to not be super dependent on one thing and have multiple ways. And you install those strategically without stopping doing one thing. That's what most agents make the mistake is they're doing this one thing. Maybe they're calling FSBOs and expires and that's working. And then they stop doing that and they go to focus on this new idea. And now the thing that was generating revenue stops and this new thing either works better or doesn't. And so, it's definitely something you should be thinking about. But again, like until we were, we had never heard these things before, right? Like nobody was teaching this stuff. And Jay Abraham just, has some really solid mental models around every, he's been in over 400 different industries. So it really opened our eyes to like how systemized were we at building these pillars and sustaining them and who owns the effort that goes into it. Going from you making the calls to hiring an ISA. That's how you keep one of those pillars going. Now you got somebody that's making calls all day long where it was you doing it maybe an hour or 2 a week. And then some days you didn't do it. And some days you did. Now you have a pillar. And there's, as we got into the financial portion of this, which John was tremendously valuable, is understanding, hey, an ISA is, it's direct labor dollar. There's commissions you can attach to the effort that's being done by that labor dollar that's being spent on that employee. So it was, revenue generating, no different than marketing was that labor dollar for an ISA. And so just understanding that there's, all these sides to the cube of your business and they drive different profit margins and looking at the whole big picture, you want to have multiple streams of income coming into your business from as many pillars and many oils as you can.
Yeah. You gave some examples of, when you guys were cranking 500 plus sales a year, you had multiple, we call them oil wells or pillars of your business. And I think that one of the reasons why people don't have it is because they have a belief in their mind that because maybe their financial situation, they don't have a whole lot of money to invest. We obviously teach, we preach building funnels, right?
Lead with revenue.
And yes. And so there's a lot of reasons why people do it. They don't know how to write the ad. They don't know how to, once they write the ad, is that the right copy? Is it the right pick in the ad? Is it the right audience that you're pointing the There's all these different factors. Are you making the right offer to the right audience? And so there's a lot that goes into it. And if you're interested in learning more, obviously we have Funnel Pilot. Jay, is it funnelpilot.com?
Yeah, funnelpilot.com.
Check that out. But the missing oil well that we're talking about in your business for right now is something anybody with our brokerage can go to, and it's called Revenos. And if you haven't checked out Revenos, underneath the Revenos umbrella, think of Revenos as a lead generation umbrella. There's like 4 or 5 different oil wells under that you can choose from and pick to start to grow your business and not have to come up with any money out of your pocket whatsoever. When we were coaching people with Kindery's coaching and NAEA, John, you probably do this, today. I'm not coaching one-on-one like you do, but we teach start with the low-hanging fruit. What's the low-hanging fruit? It's the low cost or no cost sources of business. Now we used to teach FSBOs and expires and start there. And if those are, the reality in your market, then that should be one of your oil wells. But with the Revenues program, all you have to do is get in there, get certified, and choose which oil well that you want to start inserting. I would not choose 4. Choose one. Mm-hmm. Choose one that you feel, it would be the easiest to implement up and running. Veronica Figueroa, the FIG team, she's got so many different oil wells. She broke down the one from Revenues that's given her over 200 listing opportunities, and that's just the listings that are about to hit the market. She's already listed 25 of them. 75 more are in the queue, and then she's got a pipeline of over 200 that raise their hand. These are institutional. They're institutional buyers who are looking to unload their inventory at this point. The cap rates don't make sense for them to hold on to these properties, so they're ready to sell them and liquidate. They're going to make a ton of money because the market's gone up from where they're at. And who's in position? We are in position. Leo Pareja put us in the position to win through the Revenues program, and you just need to dip your nose in and check it out. So, we did a big training on it. Maybe I'll post the link or whatever, but just go in, and if you want to learn more about it, call John, call myself, call Jay, just DM us, and we'll get you more information if you're not an EXP agent and how you can start growing your business through Revenues. You got to partner with us, but once you do, I guarantee that we're going to be able to add some oil wells to your business model.
Love it. Yep. Absolutely love it.
How about our next one? Oh, Wes Dorsey's asking for the link. Man, I'll get you that link. Wes, DM me and just remind me to get you the link. And I'll send that over to you, bud. All right, winners and losers. Boy, we could spend an hour just on right here. Winners and losers. I'll set it up like this, Jay. One of the things that you had said is that if we were to coach you, or if you were to partner with us at EXP, that we aren't in the business, nor can we turn losers into winners. But what did you say?
We can help winners win bigger and faster.
We can help winners win bigger and faster. And I was listening to a killer podcast. I'm part of a what would you call it? I guess it's a overall fitness coaching program called Suprahuman. Not like superhuman, but suprahuman. And I was listening to him, and he was talking about it. And what would you guys say the biggest difference between winners and losers would be?
I mean, it chapter 1 of this book always seems to start the same way. I mean, it's mindset. It starts with mindset. Like you have to believe that you could be better. I mean, you have to know that you could be better. You have to have that awareness that you could be better and the desire to want to be better. And I think that's the biggest difference between a winner and a loser.
Absolutely.
I think it's the mindset. I think, for me, I always kind of default back to Kobe, right? And Kobe would talk about like, I want to take the shot, right? I want to take the last shot every time. He goes, I don't care if I make it or if I don't. because I'm going to learn either way.
Mm-hmm.
And if I make it, great, it worked, cool. All right, awesome. We got the win, on to the next. If it didn't, then what did I learn? How can I make the adjustment? How can I improve? And how can I get better? So to me, it's a desire to be better every day, to be a constant learner. What am I learning? What am I learning? What's going on in this situation? How can I, make adjustments? How can I continue to improve? And just that I'm coachable, Gene. I'm 100% responsible. Al, to your 100-0, extreme ownership. And, am I focused on what's within my control? But I think it's also, it comes back to the desire. I listened to the podcast Prime was on with Ed Milet. I think it was probably last year. And, Prime's amazing, right? And being able to, a couple key things that stood out in there for me. One was, and I think this comes down to desire. So the mindset shift that I have a desire to be better, but he gave a reference of, in the question that he always asks the recruits, and he'll ask them, he'll say, what are you chasing? What are you chasing? And his reference is, the dog tracks have the rabbit that goes, and the dogs chase the rabbit, and they're always in pursuit of it, right? They might not ever quite catch it, but they're always chasing it. And that's chasing them and it's pushing them to be faster and faster and faster. And so that's the question he asks his recruits. And he wants to know what they're chasing. And he said, I'll stay away from the athletes that aren't chasing anything. But I'm looking for the athletes that are hungry, that are in constant pursuit of something. What is that rabbit that you're chasing? And for me, winners are chasing something. And they're doing everything that they possibly can to be the best versions of themselves. And so it's all mindset. And then I think willing to make a commitment to do the work, and not become an armchair quarterback. That's just like looking out the window. It's the whole, man in the arena, right? Are you in the arena or are you up in the stands? Where are you at? And I think there's a lot of people that have a desire. They're just not willing to do the work. That's required.
The new armchair quarterback is the keyboard cowboy.
Oh boy.
Today, right? So in making notes and getting ready for this podcast and just really thinking about the difference between winners and losers is, it really, you guys are spot on correct. It's mindset, but specifically it's about focus. Winners focus on where they're going, mm-hmm. and losers focus on what they're going through. Mm-hmm. I want you to hear me here. Okay. Everyone's going through it. Everyone's going through the exact same thing that's in the real estate business right now. The biggest difference between winners and losers is that the losers are going to keep bitching about what they're going through, and it should have been handled differently, and NAR should have fought harder. And listen, I agree with all those things, but I'm not focusing on them. I'm focusing on where we're going. I'm looking 3 months out, 6 months out, 18 months out. I feel as leaders, we have a responsibility to lead with the right focus. If you're a leader and you're choosing to focus, and listen, if you're an influencer, whatever comes out your mouth, it could be, your people are going to listen to something that's positive or negative. You're going to lead them in the direction of winning or losing. And if you're focused on what should have happened, all this other stuff, you're going to be leading people down the loser path. Listen, if it was easy, everyone would be rich and ripped. Everyone would have a six-pack and they'd be ripped and have more money than they want if it was easy. But it's not easy. Winners don't give a fuck. They do it anyway. They do the hard work when everyone's ready to stop. And discipline. Losers, they do focus, but they focus on excuses. So it's a choice, everyone. We all have a choice. And you can choose to focus. Whatever you choose to focus on is going to be the path that you're going to end up down. You may turn around and say, shoot, I must have taken the wrong turn over there at Albuquerque. And I'm now on the loser's path because I was listening to people who were talking about what they were going through and what they should have done and what this person should have done. It's the victim mentality. Yeah, it's the victim mentality that's at the water cooler at the old school office talking about, the old school guy. We were talking about this earlier. The new agents, you have such a huge advantage over the old dinosaurs. And I mean, I guess I could throw ourselves into that category, but luckily we have a better mindset than the old dinosaurs. But like it's the older people right now that just refuse to think about how moving forward different. They refuse to change their focus on where we're going versus what we're going through. And if you're new in this business, you got a big opportunity, man. Huge opportunity to get ahead of the gang. It's going to be even easier to get ahead of the herd at this point.
Yeah, you're spot on there, brother. And the big thing that I've seen in ourselves and over the years is those of us that adopt useful mental models, right? Always asking ourselves where we're wrong, where we could be better, where's the constraint, how we can go through. So it does come down to mindset. It comes down to thinking and thinking accurately. I've shared, my number 2 book recommendation is Outwitting the Devil. And it's all about accurate thought, right? When Napoleon Hill wrote The Laws of Success before he wrote Think and Grow Rich, he talks about in the Laws of Success, the most important law of success is accurate thought. And then the whole fascinating story, whatever you believe about Napoleon Hill and his wife and everything, but the whole story, because he was a great storyteller, the whole story with Outwitting the Devil was accurate thought. The whole book is about accurate thought. And so the way to get out of the drift, where I believe he says 97, I think 99.9% of the human population is in a state of drift, which is controlled by the devil, which is in a state of fear through financial or through health, are the primary top 2 fears. And the only way out of that is accurate thought. So having a framework of how to think and think accurately, and then knowing, like you said, Al, knowing where you're at and where you want to go, not living in a circular world, but moving from point A to point B. And that's the only way you get anywhere you're at to where you want to go. It's uphill, right? Everything in life is uphill. Mm-hmm. And the only way you get uphill is with intent. You have to be intentional to go uphill, but you've got to have a framework, a mental model. But to your point, what you were saying is that you have to be disciplined. And discipline, Mike Tyson says it best, right? It's just doing the things you have to do when you absolutely don't want to do it. And that's the trait that I've seen time and time again over the last 12, 13 years of one-on-one coaching, is that those that are the most disciplined, meaning getting up, doing the shit that they don't want to do when they almost don't even have to do it, but they still get up and do it anyways.
Ooh, man, you just nailed it, John.
Yeah, it's absolutely key.
Not only when they don't want to do it, but when they don't have to do it. Mm-hmm. That's huge. I found this book, and I grabbed it because you were talking about outwitting the devil, but a lot of it, this is all happening between our ears. What to say when you're talking to yourself. We touched on this a little bit ways back, is that golf, tennis, those are just 2 sports that I love playing, and they're both so 90% mental. And how do you talk to yourself? How do you talk to yourself in real estate? When you're going on a listing appointment, are you telling yourself that you're going to nail this and like that you are the best option for this client? And are you that confident going into that buyer appointment that they need you? They need your guidance. They need your expert advice in navigating this huge thing. Is that how you're going, with confidence, or are you going into it with fear? How are you talking to yourself up here? What are you telling yourself? I'm the worst. I'm the worst at this because I beat myself up more than anyone's ever beat me up. Mm-hmm. It comes from when I'm looking in the mirror and I'm trying to straighten my own ass out.
We need that sometimes, but not all the time.
You have to focus on that positive talk. Like, I'm playing tennis, and I used to. This is no bullshit. When I was playing tennis, I played tennis against some really good players, and they kind of like a golf handicap. The way that works with tennis is you're rated by the USTA. Like, you could be a 2.5, 3.0, 3.5, all the way up to, pro is like 5 and up, right? And so I was a 4.0, And sometimes I play better players than me. And I would have to tell myself, hit this serve like a 5-0 would hit it, not like a 4-0 would hit it. Hit the serve like a 5-0. If you were a 5-0, how would you hit the serve? How would you return the serve? You have to think differently. You have to think like the 5-0. Or in golf, how would I hit this ball like a scratch golfer?
Mm-hmm.
How would I approach this next shot? Like that self-talk is so important. And especially right now, more than any time, I think, we're going through a rite of passage right now. We talked about it, I think, last week. Everyone that makes it through will be able to look back and say, yep, I got my rite of passage here. Mm-hmm. We went through it. This will be like our second rite of passage, guys. We went through 08, 09. And so maybe that's why we're so, we lost it all a couple times. And maybe that's why we're not fearful, because we know that it's going to be okay, but we have to have that right mindset. And I hope that everybody does. You're either going to be an AFA, an average frustrated agent trying to figure it out and bitching about, NAR should have fought harder, or you're going to have a honey badger mindset, a winner's mindset. And that's what we're about here.
So,
the struggle is the way.
What's that?
Struggle is the way.
Yeah.
Real quick, I'll tell you before we finish up here. I had a call with a guy yesterday. Just a baller, dude. The dude's 18 months in the business, did 60-something transactions, and I asked him to kind of lay out his vision for what he was want. He had a vision for what he wanted to get, where he wanted to get to with his business. Again, to John's point earlier, that he had something he was chasing. But he had this awareness that, as he was describing how he thought he was going to get there, that he knew he was going to learn some lessons, and that he's probably wrong in some of the things that he's thinking, right? Like he just had awareness that I'm probably, this is probably not going to be exactly how it's going to go. And I'm probably going to learn some stuff along the way, but he knew he was going to get to where he was trying to go. What he's going to have to learn along the way and pivot and change and do whatever and maneuver around, he knows that that's coming. He knows that the struggle is the way. That's the process. And I think you have to have that mindset that, it's, and I watch it with, Riggs, and he had a personal coach in basketball when we were in Puerto Rico this year. And, when Riggs would have to do some drill he had never done before, he would struggle with it and he would get pissed off, and he'd get pissed off at himself because he couldn't do it. And over and over and over and over, okay, he has to hear, it's going to suck first. You're going to be bad before you'll ever be good. It's going to be hard before it's going to be easy, but it always gets easier. And, you see that in a kid, and you hope that they would have the right mindset, but they need to hear it all the time too. And you need to hear it all the time. Hey, maybe it didn't go just like you thought it was going to go. Maybe you visualize, I know in golf happens to me all the time. The best thing you can have is a short memory, I think I'm going to hit this ball straight, visualize the whole thing. I'll shank one off to the left and be like, okay, that didn't go how I thought it was going to go. What did I do? What am I learning here? And you have that short memory of the losses, and just know that that's part of the process. And I think that definitely is a characteristic of people that win, is understanding you're going to suck. It's going to be hard. There's going to be times you're going to lose along the way, and just accepting that as part of the rite of passage.
Yeah, it is. Every time I go on a run, I remind myself, it was something Lance Armstrong said. He said, every run sucks. And he said, the reason every run sucks is because you get faster. And as you get faster and you get better, it gets harder and harder. And that's what it's supposed to feel like. So it's always a great reminder, right? That, it's supposed to feel like this. If it was easy, that doesn't mean we're not doing anything. And for those of you guys listening in as we wrap up here, if you're struggling, it was one of my favorite passages out of one of our top business book recommendations, The Hard Thing About Hard Things. And Horowitz's mentor told him, the only time you don't have a move is when you give up. If you stay in the fight and you keep pushing, there's always a move. You just might not be able to see it just yet, but just know there's a move, and there's a move coming. And so for those of you, listening in, like, you might not feel like there's a move, but I promise you there is one. And where I could tell you that starts is by reaching out to somebody that can give you some perspective. Reach out to us, reach out to a mentor, reach out to somebody that you trust. That's why having great coaches and great mentors in our lives, because and surrounding yourself with people that will tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear, is because we all have blind spots. And we need that additional perspective to help us course correct and continue to navigate through this journey.
So good. Awesome.
Fellas, another fire episode. I'm loving this format. You guys listening in here, give some love, give some some shares. I'll hit you with the Frisella, right? Don't be a hoe. Share the show, and we would love for some feedback from you guys. And I'm digging this, and we're looking forward to it. And we're going to keep pouring in. But to your point, Al, just like I know we had a few people reaching out to you. You guys have any questions, need anything from us? Hit us up, DM us, smoke signals, whatever. Get the message, and we'll get you guys taken care of.
We'll see you in Cleveland in less than 60 days. In fact, I think it's less than 50 days right now.
Yep.
Can't wait to have both you guys in town.
Yeah.
I know Jay was just in town.
I love it, man. Great trip.
We had a couple nice nights out on the back patio, just kind of talking about, where we're at right now and where we've been. And I always just I appreciate those conversations. I can't wait to maybe smoke a cigar with both you guys and relax and get excited about the future.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Guys, appreciate it. We'll see you guys.
See you.
Bye.